the largest of plants, and puts forth large branches, so that the birds of the sky can dwell in its shade. With many such parables he spoke the word to them as they were able to understand it. Without parables he did not speak to them, but to his own disciples he explained everything in private. The Gospel of the Lord. Well, Jesus likes to use examples with grain and plants, doesn't he? And this is what makes his teaching so timeless. For as long as life is on earth, his words will be understood, cherished, and appreciated. And as he said, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away, because they are so timeless. And in today's gospel, we hear two different parables, and the first one has a very clear meaning. The seed is the teaching of Christ, the field is those who hear it, and the harvest is the end of time, or the death of each one of us. And we understand, we come to know that the seed, the teaching of Christ, has within itself an innate power to grow. That if given the proper atmosphere, the proper circumstances, it will grow. And it will do so in an organic way. As he said, first the blade, then the ear, then the full grain in the ear. So it will develop according to its own law. It won't happen overnight. It's not magic. And it won't happen according to our time frame, but according to God's time frame. And that's why this little story invites us to have patience and to trust in God, that the seed that has been planted within our hearts will grow and will produce fruit if we allow it to. And one way that we can make this possible, I think, is by working on how our homes are arranged, or with the atmosphere of our Christian homes. And I don't just mean homes with children. All of our homes, whether we're single or recently married or widowed or empty nesters or families with children, all of our homes should be Christian places where that seed can continue to grow in its through its own power. And I've spoken before about how we should keep out of our homes what is harmful and evil, and I'll probably do so again, but not today. Today I want to focus on making an atmosphere within our home that cultivates Christian discipleship. And it is very much possible for each one of us. This last year I read this little Apostolic Exhortation by Bishop Olmstead from Phoenix, and he's got this little testimony to what his home was like. He grew up in a little farmhouse up near the border of Nebraska and Kansas, on the Kansas side. And this is what he said, and I was really touched by this. He said, "I constantly thank God for my mom and dad and for our home where prayer was as normal as breathing. There were crucifixes in our bedrooms and the Last Supper on the wall next to our dining room table. On the dresser in my parents' bedroom were statues of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary, along with a candle to be lit before evening prayer and enough rosaries for each of us. The dresser served like a household altar around which we knelt every evening to pray." I thought that was a very beautiful testimony to the type of homes our Christian families need. And so I think there's three things that we could do. First of all, we need to have prayer in our homes. Prayer can't just be relegated to church and the chapel, and maybe when we think about it, it needs to pervade all of our life, and it should be as natural as breathing in our homes. And so the important thing is, it's never too late to start, because we might think to ourselves, well, I might be embarrassed if I tell my spouse I want to pray tonight, or tell the kids, turn off the television, we're going to say prayers before we go to bed, or let's pray before we eat our evening meal. But I'm telling you, we should just start wherever we're at and grow from there. And if you need someone to blame me, and just say, Father said, we got to pray in our home, okay? Whatever it takes, we need to pray in our homes. They should be places of prayer. The second thing is we should have a place in our home where we can easily pray. He talks about his parents' bedroom where there was a dresser, but any place where we can put a statue or an image, whether it's a little table or the mantle or on the wall with a little shelf, something like that we should have in our homes where when we're there, it makes it easy to pray. And preferably, this is not right next to a 75-inch television, right? Because even when those things are off, they're mesmerizing, right? Because the whole logic of the television is look at me, all the time. So whatever it takes, we need to have a spiritual center of gravity within our home that we can come to and pray, and maybe even pray the rosary like Bishop Olmstead's family did. And then finally, one thing that is like a step further and which is appropriate to speak about during this month of June, which is the month dedicated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, is something called the enthronement of the Sacred Heart. And we can do this in our home. It's a commitment that we take and make a consecration of our individual lives and families and homes to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, to make him the king and center of our hearts. And to do this, it takes a little bit of preparation, a little study and prayer, and then we have some sort of gathering where we get our family and friends together. Perhaps I come over to do the blessing, and you make a consecration and bless the image and put it somewhere in your home. Because if we want a place for our homes in the Sacred Heart of Jesus, then we should have a place in our homes for his Sacred Heart, if I said that right. We want to be placed in his heart, so we should place his heart in our homes. And so if anybody wants to do that or feels called to do that, just let me know, and I'll be happy to help you through that, because it's a really beautiful thing. And you can renew that consecration that you make all throughout the year, on feast days, on the anniversary of your marriage, on birthdays, when new children are born, when they are baptized, before First Communions, when family members leave home or when they come home, when there's days of joy or sadness or sorrow or death. All of those are times when we can renew our commitments as a family and as a home to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. So if we cultivate within our homes an atmosphere of Christian discipleship, then the seed that Christ sows into our hearts will grow as it must, according to its own natural law, and it will bear much fruit. But we have to prepare the place for it to grow and allow it to flourish in our homes and in our hearts.